After Sebastian Thorne went bankrupt, I went from a pampered canary living in a Chelsea mansion, draped in designer dresses and a rigorous skincare schedule, to a scrappy sparrow in a rundown Peckham flat, surviving on instant noodles and scraping by on a measly 38 pounds a day. The Canary Girls group chat, filled with former kept women now retired or pivoted, urged me to find a new wealthy man to latch on to. But I didn't listen. No matter how tough or exhausting it got, my principle was always the same. Don't waver, don't quit. Once I commit, I stick it out to the end. A poor but handsome man is still better than a poor and ugly one. A bad man can hide his flaws, but a handsome bad man at least softens the blow with his face. Then, Sebastian, the man once kicked out of his mansion, staged a comeback, rebuilding his career with a fortune several times larger than before. Pack your things, you're moving. He lounged casually in my tiny living room, his polished leather shoes gleaming, his white shirt crisp without a single crease. Our contract may be over, but whatever terms you name, I'll agree to. I was stunned. Joy and surprise hit me at once. So I asked for a 300 square meter villa in central London. Anything else? He asked. I replied curtly, that's it. His smile vanished instantly. The hand he'd been hiding behind his back, as if holding something, slipped quietly away. His expression turned icy. That's all? He pressed, clearly displeased. I blinked, confused, not sure what I'd said wrong. What else should there be? I asked innocently. The air grew heavy. I could tell Sebastian was genuinely angry. I shrank back slightly, keeping some distance. Or maybe, I teased, add 50 years of property maintenance fees? He took a deep breath, his thick brows knitting together as if I'd just pulled a fast one. Ava Whitmore, are you mocking me? His voice dropped low. Honestly, with his wealth now, a 300 square meter villa in central London was probably a bit small time. I decided to be honest. Sorry, I don't plan on getting married. If I'm living alone, maybe with a dog, that size is plenty. Sebastian choked on his words. The hand he'd hidden earlier now rested in his pocket. His Patek Philippe watch glinted silver, catching the sunlight slanting through the window. His voice turned cold. Funny coincidence. I don't plan on marrying either. He emphasized, your terms, I'll meet them. Since our contract is done, I'll transfer £250,000 to your account, as thanks for looking after me all this time. Wow, that generous? I grinned, eyes sparkling, completely missing the first thing he'd muttered. Thanks, Sebastian. He pressed his lips together, said nothing, stood up, and slammed the door shut. I could still hear the trash bin in the hallway getting kicked down. Freshly tidied up, I eagerly shared the whole story in the Canary. Girls chat. In London, I didn't have any real close friends, just this group of former girlfriends of Sebastian's old business buddies. They blew up the chat. Babe, that was your shot. And you only asked for a house? Such a waste. Next time, drop the innocent princess act. It's a total mood killer. Little sparrow off running with some tycoon today? Amid the flurry of dramatic comments, only Lily chimed in seriously. The Langfords were planning to tie the knot with Sebastian's family. They had dinner last week, probably discussing an engagement, and he's notoriously ruthless. His brother was driven to suicide. Ava, if you ask for too much, you might end up in jail. I went quiet. When he left, his face was terrifying. Everyone knows Sebastian Thorne is impossibly difficult, gorgeous, rich, but cold, rigid, and brimming with stamina. Back then, living with him was like being stuck with a boot camp trainer who tortured both body and mind. But I was a proper golden sparrow then. For money, I could endure anything. Then the news of his bankruptcy spread like wildfire. He stood outside the Thorne family estate, kicked out, his suit crumpled, his silhouette lonely as if the world had turned its back on him. I was ready to walk away. But then my mind spun. A man like Sebastian, born with a silver spoon, so brilliant. If he fell this low and I helped him up, when he climbed back to the top, he'd never forget me. With his brain, making money was just a matter of time, better than waitressing or stocking shelves at Tesco. I turned back. Testing the waters, I said, I secretly sold some of the bags and shoes you gave me. Got enough to buy a small flat. Sebastian, want to come live with me? He nodded slightly, so I brought him to my 60 square meter flat in Peckham. We added a few new terms to our old contract. First, while bankrupt, Sebastian couldn't live for free. He'd work to offset rent. Second, no random outbursts. Third, in my house, he followed my rules. If he upset me, he'd sleep on the sofa. That night, he sat at my tiny dining table, quietly finishing a bowl of tomato egg noodles I'd made, even slurping up the broth. He even washed the dishes without being asked. He looked like a big dog, soaked from the rain, hair messy, face weary. I thought those days of nursing a fallen CEO were just temporary. But Sebastian Thorne did rebuild his life. He didn't just return to the financial world, he started his conglomerate, and his wealth now surpassed his previous peak. News of his buying a luxury property chain in Mayfair flooded financial papers and social media. Even the Canary Girls chat exploded. One afternoon, Sebastian showed up at my flat, eyes gleaming with excitement. He leaned against the doorframe, his silver gray eyes sparkling. He told me to pack, to move somewhere else. I didn't get it until he repeated, "Our contract was over, but whatever I asked for, he'd give." I was thrilled and stunned by a dream offer for any girl. So I blurted out a request for a 300 square meter villa in central London. He smiled and asked if I wanted anything else. I said no, that was it. His smile vanished. He hid his right hand behind his back, as if holding something important, then slipped it into his pocket. I noticed his Patek Philippe watch gleaming under the living room light. He went quiet, then looked at me, voice low. He asked if that was all. I nodded, confused why he was upset. Maybe to someone like him now, that villa was too modest a request. I explained. I wasn't planning to marry. If I lived alone with a dog, that size would be enough. His face tensed, eyes flickering with something I couldn't read. He said softly, voice icy, that it was a funny coincidence he wasn't planning to marry either. He'd meet my terms. Since the contract was done, he'd transferred £250,000 as thanks for supporting him through tough times. I grinned, not catching his earlier mumble, and thanked him warmly. But he didn't reply. He stood, slammed the door, and left. I heard a loud clang. Probably him kicking the hallway bin. I opened my phone and spilled the whole story to the Canary Girls. In this city, I had no real close friends. Just this group of ex-girlfriends from Sebastian's old circle. They were the only ones who'd shared my canary life. The chat erupted. One said I was too kind, wasting a golden chance on just a house. Another told me to stop posting like a shy kitten. It was a buzzkill. Someone teased if Little Sparrow was off with a tycoon. Amid the chatter, only Lily said something sobering. She said the Langfords were planning a marriage alliance with the Thornes, likely discussing an engagement over dinner last week. Sebastian was famously cold. His brother was driven to suicide. She warned that if I asked for too much, I could get nothing, or worse, end up in court. I shivered. When he left, he was furious, his eyes like ice, radiating menace. Everyone knows Sebastian Thorne is the toughest man in finance, gorgeous, rich, but volatile, rigid, and relentless. Back then, despite his physical and mental toll, I gritted my teeth. I was a golden sparrow, all for the money. Then his bankruptcy hit the news. He told me himself, "Ava Whitmore, go." I've got nothing left. Kicked out of the Thorne estate, suit crumpled, he looked abandoned by the world. I was ready to leave. But a thought struck me. A man like Sebastian, born to lead, so sharp. If I helped him now, when he rose again, he'd remember me. With his mind, money was just a matter of time. Better than slaving at a cafe or Tesco. I turned back. Testing him, I said I'd sold some of his gifts to buy a small flat. "Sebastian, want to live with me?" He nodded faintly. So I took him to my 60 square meter suburban flat. We revised our contract with 3 new rules. 1, he couldn't live for free, he'd work for rent. 2, no, random tempers. 3, in my house, he'd follow my lead. If he angered me, he'd sleep on the sofa. That night, he ate every bit of my tomato egg noodles, even the broth, and washed the dishes unprompted. He looked like a big, rain-soaked dog, obediently waiting for his owner to hand him a towel. I genuinely believe that after Sebastian got back on track, transferred the money, and left, it was all over. He would have his life, and I would have my little home and an independent future. I had prepared myself for the possibility that we would never meet again. Yet days passed, and he didn't show up. Didn't text, didn't call. I couldn't reach him. My bank account remained untouched, no sign of activity, and that 300 square meter villa was nowhere to be seen. I started to feel uneasy. Though I kept saying it didn't matter, deep down, I couldn't stop overthinking. Someone like Sebastian, when he makes a promise, follows through, especially now that he's back on top. A villa means nothing to him. So, I took a chance and called his new assistant. A polite, detached female voice answered, "Sorry, Mr. Thorne has personal engagements today. May I ask who's calling?" I fumbled, unsure how to introduce myself, almost forgetting that Sebastian was now fully restored to his pinnacle, surrounded by new people. His new assistant had no idea who I was. Despite the pang of disappointment, I forced a response. "It's nothing, just an old friend." I hung up quietly. For the villa, I decided to go to him in person. I stood beneath his office building, waiting for ages. Finally, a black Mercedes pulled up. The door opened and closed swiftly. Sebastian stepped out, his face cold, features sharp as if carved from stone. But right behind him, another figure emerged, freezing me in place. The woman wore an ivory cheongsam, her hair neatly tied, her walk graceful and refined. Even from behind, I could tell she was the kind of woman who turned heads. She smiled sweetly, her soft voice sending chills down my spine. "Sebastian, I'm very pleased with you. Your looks, your background, everything is perfect. I don't mind taking our time to build feelings after marriage." I nearly gasped aloud. Her words were bold and clear. She was none other than Charlotte Langford, the heiress of the largest real estate conglomerate in the South, rumored to be the Thorne family's choice for a marriage alliance. Had she just proposed to him right there? Charlotte turned and left, leaving Sebastian standing alone by the car. I couldn't see his expression, shrouded in shadow. I ducked behind a wall, dimmed my phone screen to the lowest setting, and furtively reported the scene to the Canary Girls chat. Chirp chirp, to all group members. The Langford heiress just proposed to Sebastian Thorne right under his office building, hiding behind a pole, sending pics. The chat exploded instantly, flooded with shocked emojis, dizzy faces, and nosebleeds. Someone asked me directly, "Ava, in 3 years, have you never fallen for him?" Hearing her say that didn't bother you at all? I stared at the screen, fingers hovering, unsure what to type. Just then, a deep male voice sounded behind me, each word piercing like a needle to my heart. The diamond-encrusted knights of the Canary Protection Squad. I spun around, startled. Somehow Sebastian was standing right behind me. I felt caught red-handed. I quickly locked my phone and hid it behind my back. He slipped one hand into his pocket, the other loosening his tie. The faint smell of alcohol clung to him, his eyes bloodshot but still deep as the ocean. His voice was hoarse. "Ava Whitmore, since when did you pick up the habit of snooping?" I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. I stepped back, stammering, I came to find you." His eyes lit up briefly, his throat bobbing slightly. "Find me? Right. You left something at my place. You left in such a hurry that day, so I brought it back." I lied smoothly, almost believing myself. Sebastian let out a sudden laugh. "So eager, huh? My stuff was that much of an eyesore? Guess it was taking up space. Once it's gone, your living room will feel a lot roomier." I couldn't tell if his tone was amused or angry. He took a deep breath and turned away, as if steadying his emotions. A few seconds later, he asked, "You heard everything Charlotte Langford said just now, didn't you?" I nodded slightly. His gaze burned into me. "So, do you have anything to say?" I lowered my head further, hands twisting together tightly. My voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." He raised an eyebrow, clearly waiting. A night breeze swept through, dry leaves rustling on the pavement, urging me to speak. I took a deep breath, mustered all my courage, and said with utmost sincerity, "I wish you both happiness, early blessings of children, and a century of harmony. And that 300 square meter villa you promised me, when's the transfer happening?" Sebastian fell completely silent. His voice was flat, no hint of joy or sorrow. "That blessing, was it sincere?" I nodded. "Of course." The longer he looked at me, the darker his eyes grew. "Then why did you take me in when I went bankrupt?" I faltered, but quickly conjured a plausible excuse. "Back then, I couldn't bear to see you out on the streets." He suddenly bent down to pick up a cardboard box, using so much force he nearly stumbled. I reached out to steady him, but he brushed my hand away, standing upright, his eyes icy. Then I should thank you for your pity. For that kindness, I'll have my assistant bring the contract to you tomorrow. Under the dim streetlight, I saw his eyes redden, lips pressed tight, teeth grinding. If I ever come back to you again, I'm no better than a dog. With that, he turned and walked away, his tall figure vanishing into the night without looking back. I stood frozen, finally letting out a heavy breath, opening my clenched hand. My palm was slick with sweat. Truthfully, Sebastian Thorne was a good man, especially after his bankruptcy. To the world, he'd fallen from the top to rock bottom. But to me, those tough days made him far more endearing than the arrogant CEO he once was. Even when he had nothing, he stuck to every term of our contract. Each day he took on odd jobs, delivery, event assistance, anything to scrape together rent money on time, as promised. Sometimes, late at night while I slept, he'd quietly leave a hot breakfast at my door. Once, we jostled through a discount supermarket in Brixton, fighting elderly ladies for vegetable deals. My shoe's heel broke, and Sebastian carried me home through the drizzly rain. Yet we laughed like kids in love. Those days were the most beautiful memories of our relationship. I didn't feel miserable at all. On the contrary, having a small home, a warm meal, and someone to share daily struggles with was the dream I'd secretly cherished since childhood. But it seemed Sebastian misunderstood everything. As I fumbled with the dented trash bin he'd kicked in a prior fit of anger, I ran into the elderly neighbor from the first floor. He was a kind old man with mild dementia, often collecting recyclables around the area. His eyes sparkled at the sight of the bin, as if he'd found treasure. Seeing this, I decided to do one more good deed. I smiled, nodded, and handed him the bin. Just then, my phone pinged with a bank alert. The sender was Sebastian. I froze at the amount, £520,000. Had he mistyped? I recalled legal analysis videos from lawyers online. Large transfers like that without clear agreements could lead to lawsuits for coercion or even extortion. Kindly, I sent back £270,000. After the transfer, I sent a serious message. Sebastian, you sent the wrong amount. I've returned it. A red exclamation mark appeared next to my message. I stared, stunned. He'd blocked me. This man, every time he got mad, blocked people like it was a hobby. I had no idea what set him off this time. Holding my phone, I sighed. Fine, whatever. If he's blocked me, I'm not chasing after him. The next few days, I enjoyed rare peace. I cleaned the entire flat, top to bottom, wiping shelves, changing linens, and tossing old stuff. In my free time, I browsed interior design ideas online, planning decor for my dream villa. I envisioned adopting a dog, letting it run free in my own space. Everything seemed on track, but more days passed, and Sebastian still didn't show. No calls, no texts, still blocked. It wasn't like him. No matter how busy, he wasn't the type to leave things hanging, especially after saying he'd meet any terms I set. What about the villa? Real unease set in. Unable to stand it, I contacted his assistant again. A young, professional female voice answered. Sorry, Mr. Thorne has personal engagements today. Who's calling? I froze. Though I'd braced myself, the letdown stung. I mumbled, trying to stay calm. It's not important. Just an old friend. I hung up. Staring at the blank screen, I sat dazed for minutes. Only now did I truly realize our relationship was over. The contract was done, emotions buried, and I was just a stranger to him. Not even familiar enough for his new assistant to know. I was no longer anyone's golden sparrow. I was just Ava Whitmore, someone who'd passed through Sebastian Thorne's life, now left behind for good. Unable to reach him by phone, I decided to go in person. I stood beneath the building where Sebastian Thorne worked, clutching a paper bag, pretending to return his things, but wanting to know where he was, what he was doing, and if he still remembered me. I waited ages until a sleek black luxury car pulled up. The door opened, and he stepped out, tall and imposing, with the same steady, cold aura as always. Then a woman emerged behind him. She wore an elegant white dress, her hair softly curled, exuding the polished grace of a South Kensington heiress. She turned to Sebastian, her voice sweet. Sebastian, I'm very pleased with you. Your looks and background meet my standards for a husband. I don't mind if our feelings need time to grow. I nearly choked on the bubble tea I'd just sipped. She cut straight to the chase, like this was a negotiation between tycoons. I could barely breathe, ducking behind a brick wall, dimming my phone to the lowest setting, and typing into the Canary Girls chat. Red alert. The Langford heiress just proposed to Sebastian Thorne. I'm watching live. Pics attached. The chat exploded with emojis, fireworks, shock, awe. One member asked, Ava, in 3 years, you never once fell for him? Hearing her say that didn't bother you at all? I froze, staring at the screen, fingers hovering, unsure what to type. Then a deep male voice spoke behind me, startling my heart. The diamond-studded landlord's Canary Club. I spun around. Somehow Sebastian was standing there, one hand in his pocket, the other loosening his tie. His eyes were bloodshot, and there was a faint scent of alcohol on him. Those deep, dark eyes made it impossible to guess his thoughts. Ava Whitmore, since when did you start sneaking around like this? My heart raced. I stepped back, mumbling. I came to find you. His head snapped up, eyes blazing. Find me? I nodded. Yeah. These are things you left at my place. You left in a rush that day, so I brought them back. He gave a soft laugh. So impatient, huh? My stuff's that bothersome? Fine, I'll take it. Your living room will feel much roomier. I couldn't tell if he was mocking or upset. He turned away, took a deep breath, then asked, You heard everything Charlotte Langford said, didn't you? I nodded. His voice lowered, eyes burning into me. So, do you have anything to say? I looked down, twisting my hands together. Yes. He raised an eyebrow, waiting. A cold night breeze swept through. I took a deep breath, summoning all my courage. I wish you both happiness, healthy kids, and a century together. Also, that 300-square-meter villa you promised. When's the paperwork coming? His voice, when he spoke, carried no emotion. That blessing, was it sincere? I looked straight at him and nodded. Of course. His brows knitted tighter. Then why did you keep me around when I had nothing? Knowing he'd misunderstood, I quickly said, I couldn't bear to see you on the streets. As I finished, he bent to pick up a cardboard box by his feet. The movement was so forceful that he nearly stumbled. I reached to help, but he brushed my hand away, standing tall, his eyes icy. Thanks for your pity. For that kindness, I'll have my assistant send the contract tomorrow. Under the dim streetlight, I saw his eyes redden, his jaw clenched, as if grinding something to dust. If I come back to you again, I'm no better than a dog. With that, he strode off, his sturdy figure fading into the night without a glance back. Watching him go, I finally exhaled, my sweaty palms unclenching as if shedding a heavy weight. Sebastian Thorne was truly remarkable. Even at his lowest, he never broke a single term of our contract. Every day, he took on multiple jobs, transferring rent money on time. When old employees came demanding back pay, he listed their names, sold off his remaining assets, and worked extra to pay them bit by bit. On many nights, he ordered food for me, never forgetting to leave a hot breakfast and coffee at my door by morning. Even at his worst, we squeezed through a discount supermarket in the neighborhood, battling elderly ladies for vegetables, only for my shoes' heel to break. He carried me home through the rain, his back soaked, yet he still teased that my fabric softener smelled better than perfume. Those days weren't painful. On the contrary, they warmed my heart. Sebastian, in his poorest moments, was more genuine and endearing than anyone I'd ever known. But now he'd returned to his original world, a glittering, glamorous place where heiresses like Charlotte Langford could propose on the sidewalk without hesitation. I didn't belong there, and I knew I wouldn't let fleeting feelings cloud my judgment. I'd never choose to be the third wheel in someone else's story. A grown woman should know when to stop, when to walk away to preserve her dignity, and I chose to stop. The next morning, I woke early. I did a full face of makeup just to sit alone in my living room, browsing interior design ideas saved on my phone. The Canary Girls chat was buzzing by 5 a.m. They teased that Ava Whitmore, once thought soft and timid, turned out to be the most level-headed of the group. One said a man might share your struggles, but not necessarily your success. Another asked what I'd do after the villa transfer. I replied simply, once the paperwork's done, I'll study interior design and adopt a dog. Live a normal life. The group erupted in applause. One mentioned her cousin, Nathan Hartley, an art student back from Scotland after losing funding, might ask for my help. She jokingly added that if I got anything from Sebastian, we'd split it 60-40, me taking the bigger share. I laughed, thinking it was a jest. But minutes later, I got a WhatsApp friend request. The sender was polite. "Hello, are you the counselor song recommended? I'm Elliot Hartley." I sighed. This counselor label was hard to shake. I accepted and replied gently, "I'm not a professional, but if you need someone to talk to, I can be a listening tree." Elliot sent a cute nodding cat sticker, then asked if we could meet that evening. Before I could reply, somehow Sebastian unblocked me. I stared at the screen, stunned. He sat in his top-floor office at Thorn Group, eyes vacant, staring at our chat but typing nothing. His assistant entered, handing him a contract. "Mr. Thorn, everything's ready." Snapping out of a daze, he opened the file. His hand rested on his fountain pen, but he didn't write. Suddenly, he looked up at his assistant. "Do you have a girlfriend?" The assistant startled. "No, sir, too busy with work." "I do," Sebastian said slowly. "We started with a transaction. I wasn't serious at first, but the more time I spent with her, the more I realized how good she is. She was the only one by my side when I had nothing." The assistant stared at his shoes, wishing he could vanish. "But I think she never loved me. That house is my parting gift to her." His reflection in the floor-to-ceiling window showed a deep frown. He pondered, like analyzing a tough deal, searching for where things went wrong. Does she only care about my money? Strangely, that thought didn't anger him. Instead, it brought relief. He recalled Ava in her new villa, holding a lint roller, rambling about curtains and paint colors. She was happy, but not because of him. She was happy for the life she'd always dreamed of, free from dependence. He thought if she wanted money, he'd give her piles of it. If she needed a home, he'd hand her a building. He wouldn't let her leave again. His heart felt lighter. Sebastian smiled. "Cancel tonight's social event. I'll deliver the parting gift myself." Then he paused. Oh, right. That night, he'd sworn that if he went back to Ava, he'd be a dog. Well, if his wife was slipping away, being a dog was fine. No big deal. That evening, Elliot Hartley arrived. I opened the door to find him under the streetlight, holding a small basket. Before I could greet him, I gasped, "Oh my gosh, why a cat?" He held out a gray British shorthair, its round eyes staring at me. He bowed slightly, his voice warm. "Sorry for bothering you so late. This is a stray I found in Edinburgh. His name's Milo. I just returned to the country, and with family issues, I can't keep him. Can you care for him for a while?" I was about to refuse when Milo's soft paw touched my wrist, meowing. My heart melted. Elliot added, "I heard you're moving to a new place. Milo's well behaved. He won't trouble you." The faint scent of Earl Grey tea lingered on his coat, light and warm. I hesitated but took Milo. My dog plan might need tweaking. Cats and dogs don't mix. They'd fight. Elliot asked if I planned to study abroad. I shook my head. He offered to help with applications and finding mentors, calling it a thank you gift. I smiled, touched by his sincerity. Just then, shouting erupted downstairs. "Give me back my trash can." The elderly neighbor with dementia was yelling into the dark courtyard. Following his gaze, I saw a tall figure standing motionless across the street, looking my way. It was darker than usual. I rubbed my eyes but couldn't make out the face. After Elliot left, I carried Milo inside, humming as I opened the door. The sight stopped me cold. Sebastian Thorn stood at my doorstep, one sleeve rolled up, the other hand dusty. He leaned against the frame, his expression complex. I jolted. "Didn't you swear that if you came back, you'd be a dog?" Though awkward, I was secretly glad. I stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Such a small errand, and you came yourself?" "Come in." As I reached for the keypad, a cold voice spoke behind me. I recall someone saying they'd never marry and would get a dog. Now look, no dog, but a cat already. I turned. Sebastian stared at Milo, curled in my arms. I quickly explained, "It's just a friend's cat I'm watching temporarily." He stepped inside, voice low. "What friend? Guy or girl? Name? Do they know you're allergic?" I faltered, mumbling. "Just someone new you wouldn't know." His deep eyes flared. "Cats shed, they're moody. How are they better than dogs? You said you'd get a dog." I froze, not understanding his agitation. His tone carried a hint of grievance, as if he were the dog I'd meant to adopt. I snapped, "Sebastian, Milo's just a cat. Don't overcomplicate things. Where's the contract? Are you backing out on the villa? We locked eyes, the air taut like a stretched string. I held Milo tighter, voice firm. Apologized to Milo. Milo meowed softly, still in my arms. Sebastian crossed his arms, sat on the sofa, glanced at the cat, and huffed. It should apologize to the dog. It stole its spot. I choked with anger. Shameless nonsense. No apology. Then give me the contract. Suddenly, he yanked me onto his lap. Milo leapt to the floor, startled. Before I could react, he shoved a stack of documents into my hands. Forgetting I was on his lap, I eagerly opened them. With each line, my lips curled higher. The final line stunned me. The transfer and property are voluntarily gifted by Sebastian Thorne to Ava Whitmore. Irrevocable. After signing, the transfer is complete. His signature was there. The words irrevocable shone like a calming balm. I took a deep breath, heart pounding. It was finally mine. I pretended to snap a photo for memory, but secretly sent it to the Canary Girls chat, asking those with lawyer contacts to double-check. Sebastian saw my sneaky moves. He wrapped his arms around my waist, holding me firmly on the sofa. I felt a twinge of guilt. Who knows what traps tycoons like him might set? What if there's a weird clause and he takes it back? He looked at me, a glint of amusement in his eyes. He knelt on one knee on the rug, gazing up at me. Of course there is. He gripped my wrist. The next second, a pigeon egg-sized red diamond ring slid onto my finger. Marry me, Ava Whitmore. I froze. Staring at the vibrant red ring perfectly fitted on my finger, my mind went strangely blank. The scene before me blurred, like a film rewinding, pulling me back to old days. Back then, Sebastian Thorne and I sprawled on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket, watching a romantic movie. The final scene was a grand proposal. The male lead knelt on a stage, the heroine teary-eyed, surrounded by friends and family. Everyone was emotional, tears flowing. Except for me, I wasn't moved, munching on potato chips and criticizing. Sebastian glanced at me. You don't like endings like that? I shook my head. Too noisy. I don't have friends like her or family to invite to a ceremony. If it were me, I'd just want a cozy little house to look pretty and a big diamond ring. That's enough. Now, those words from years ago were coming true. I had my own house, a man kneeling on the rug before me, offering a ring like in the movies. Yet my heart wasn't fully at ease. I never expected marriage. Still, this moment warmed me. I forced myself to stay calm, looking into his eyes, sighing softly. Sebastian, this joke isn't funny. He stayed kneeling, unbothered by his crumpled trousers. The usually meticulous man didn't care about wrinkles today. He just gazed at me intently. Ava Whitmore, this isn't a joke. I meant to give you this ring when we moved, but I was too stubborn, wanting to hear what I hoped you'd say. Now I get it. It's not about your answer. It's about me being clear. I love you deeply. I was speechless. In that moment, the walls around my heart crumbled. I lowered my head, voice trembling. I like you too, Sebastian. But I'm sorry, I'm scared. Your world is too dazzling, and I'm so small. I fear this feeling is fleeting, that an unequal marriage won't last. My family wasn't happy. I grew up in a broken home. I don't want my future to repeat that past. I'd never told anyone about my family. In middle school, my parents divorced. Our home was filled with affairs, drinking, fighting, and violence. My last memory was them battling over custody of my brother because he was smart, handsome, and deemed more promising. Me? No matter how hard I tried, I was just above average, quiet with nothing striking beyond a touch of charm. When they packed their bags and left, I clung to the car door, sobbing, begging not to be abandoned. But they left me behind, sending me to my aunt's. There, I had no real room, just a storage closet amid dusty old boxes. Summers brought relentless mosquitoes. Rainy seasons meant moldy walls, the stench seeping into clothes and bedding. I learned to read adults' faces, to do chores diligently for a place to stay. I secretly tracked every penny I spent, vowing to repay my aunt someday. All I wanted was to grow up, earn money, and have a small room to call home. In college, my mother suddenly reached out. She was kind, caring, saying my father had passed, and she wanted me home. Naive, I believed she finally loved me. But that house had rooms for her new husband, and my brother, just not for me. I slept in the living room by the front door. I still remember the perpetually wet toilet seat. On the sofa, my mother hung half-dried men's underwear. I couldn't fit into that so-called family, but I tried, desperate not to be cast out again, until I learned why she brought me back not for love, but to take my kidney for my brother. When I refused, she grabbed my hair, cried, cursed me as ungrateful, raided my wallet, and kicked me out into the rain. I'll never forget that night. Heavy rain, slick roads, my head hitting a lamppost, blood streaming. I passed out by the roadside, then a car stopped. The man who carried me to the hospital and paid my bills was Sebastian Thorne. In my darkest moment, he was the first to pull me from the mud. He arranged my treatment, covered my college fees, and moved me into a tidy apartment with my bedroom, kitchen, and bookshelf. He didn't just give me money, he gave me the feeling of being truly respected. That's why, when I saw him cast out by the Thorne family, abandoned by the world, I couldn't walk away. I thought this time, it's my turn to catch him. He lifted me when I had nothing. Now, I wanted to do the same for him. Sebastian listened quietly as I poured out my story. When I looked down in shame, he gently took my hand. His voice softened. "You're afraid of repeating your parents' tragedy. It's okay. We'll take it slow. I have plenty of time. I'll prove this isn't impulsive and we won't be like them." I tried to remove the ring, but he slipped it back on. In the quiet living room, everything else faded. Only his eyes shone brightly, no longer cold or judgmental, just sincere. Before I could speak, his face darkened. He tilted his head, jaw clenched. "That guy who brought the cat, tell him to get lost." I froze. Getting lost wasn't happening. Elliot Hartley had every reason to visit Milo. After that day, things between Sebastian and me weren't the same, yet not entirely different. He drove me to work each morning, ate dinner with me at night, and sometimes stayed late to help fix up the house. Though we didn't live together, it felt like he was still here. He said he wanted me to have space to think about his proposal. I understood it wasn't waiting, it was persistence. Elliot visited Milo more often, bringing books, tea, or a fragrant blueberry scone. One day, Sebastian ran into him at my door, their eyes locked, far from friendly. Before I could intervene, Sebastian spoke. "I see why Ava likes you. You've got cat-like eyes." Elliot didn't back down. "And you've got the stride of a dog who lost his bed." They sat at my table for dinner, the silence so thick I could hear Milo licking his paws. Finally, Elliot spoke. "I know there's something between you two I can't touch, but I hope I can still be friends with Ava and Milo." Sebastian nodded, not smiling, but not refusing either. The villa transfer went smoothly. On a sunny morning, I received the keys and stepped into my dream home, a quaint classic villa by the Thames, with a backyard for flowers and a swing under an old tree. I changed the curtains, painted the walls warm cream, and planted lavender on the balcony. Each morning, I brewed tea, fed Milo, and opened the windows to fresh air. The peaceful life I dreamed of as a child was finally within reach. On moving day, Sebastian arrived early with a large box. I thought it was a housewarming gift. Instead, it held a fluffy white curly-haired dog with floppy ears and black eyes like grapes. I gasped. He smiled. "This is Peanut. Trained, obedient, won't bite cats. He and Milo should get along." Milo and Peanut eyed each other across the living room. After a moment, Milo leapt onto the sofa, and Peanut stretched out at my feet, nuzzling my ankle like meeting his new boss. I laughed. "Fine, one keeps a cat, one a dog. Let's live together then." The villa was no longer quiet. Milo knocked over lamps and slept on shelves. Peanut loved stealing Sebastian's slippers and racing around the house. Sebastian would chase him yelling, while I laughed until my sides hurt. From a girl without a proper bed, I now had a house, a cat, a dog, and a man who always found his way back to me. One afternoon, as I read in the backyard, Sebastian approached with 2 cups of tea and a small box. He set it on the table, eyes betraying excitement. I asked what it was. He said, "Wedding rings." I chuckled. "You're not slipping one on me again, are you?" He looked serious. "No, this time I'll wait for you to open it and put it on when you're ready." I opened the box. Inside were simple platinum rings, no diamonds, no frills. Engraved inside, "My home is wherever you are." I said nothing, just nodded, slipping one onto my finger. Sebastian did the same. No applause, no fireworks, just a tight hand clasp under the setting sun. I was once a pitiful sparrow, dreaming of a corner of my sky. I thought love was a luxury, something that hurt. But now I had a small home, a man who wasn't perfect but sincere, and a life I could call my own.